Hello again, everybody. I'm Chief Meteorologist Scott Dorval. This is it. It's championship week in most fantasy football leagues. And so you've analyzed everything, but have you analyzed the weather and how the weather could affect your game, so especially your quarterback that you're going to start? So we're going to take a look at that here. OverUnderFantasyWeather.com will give you the stats that you need to maybe get the edge on your opponent. This is it. You've got to measure everything. You might as well measure the weather. Let's take a look at what's happening on the weather map. And this is for Sunday now. We've got some games Saturday. There's almost nothing going on Saturday weather-wise. Very calm. No snowstorms like in Kansas City last week. We do have one storm system on Sunday that's going to affect the southeast. They're playing a dome in Atlanta, so no issues there with Matt Ryan. But we're going to show you Matt Ryan's stats and how he does in the dome. In Miami, if you've got some players that are in Miami, there's probably going to be some rain down there, mild, and a good wind blowing as well. So in Miami, that could be an issue. But everybody else is fine. It shows rain in San Francisco, but this is Sunday. San Francisco plays on Saturday, and it's likely to be no rain in San Francisco. So we're going to take a look at a few games here as we look across the entire country. One place we have to look at is Cleveland. Weather looks okay, although it'll be chilly, about 38 degrees. Let's find out how Baltimore is going to do when they come to town. We're going to look first at Lamar Jackson and how he does in this particular weather. So how does Lamar Jackson do in these types of weather conditions? Well, for the game, I'm expecting a temperature close to 40 degrees and the wind less than 10 miles per hour. That's not bad at all playing. For conditions like that, he's had 12 games, typically 116 yards passing, but with the conditions like we've got coming up for this weekend, 163 yards, so more yards and more touchdowns. So Lamar Jackson's been a star here this past season, and these numbers show that he would likely do better, at least as far as these weather conditions go, and even lower on the interception. So Lamar Jackson, if you're planning on starting him, weather does not look like it's going to be an issue at all. Now, what about Drew Brees breaking all kinds of records in his career, and of course some last week? Let's take it all games in weather conditions like this. He's got a temperature around 50 degrees and not much wind at all. So really looks like a nice day. Typically 185 game sample. You've got 309 typical yards and 2.2 touchdowns. Well, he's at 5 games, only 5 games, because he's usually inside the dome where it's warmer. So it's a little bit cooler here. It's interesting is his yardage does drop down to 286 on the average. His touchdowns from 2.2 to 1.6, and his interceptions running about the same, just less than 1 per game. And so Drew Brees, yeah, he really enjoys the dome. Who wouldn't, right? With those beautiful conditions in there. But he may be, maybe not quite the star that he was this past week. We'll have to see how it shapes up. Let's push on to Patrick Mahomes now. Going to Chicago here. This is going to be, it's always a tough game when you're going into Chicago. No snow or rain, but the temperature about 37 degrees is what I'm expecting. So I put it at 40. I set the temperature less than or equal to 40, but the wind near 15 miles per hour. In conditions for Patrick Mahomes and all these games that he's played in these conditions, he's thrown for 313 yards. If you drop the weather down to where it will be this weekend at 40 degrees, 302 yards. Normally almost 3 touchdowns per game, only 1.9. Now this could kind of raise a red flag for some of you here if you're looking in and you're just debating. Interceptions don't seem to have changed, but in those 7 games, he's had one less touchdown. So weather-wise, it could be an issue here for Patrick Mahomes, although, you know what, without precipitation falling, I think he'll enjoy this week over last week as far as the weather goes. All right, playing in a dome, it's a good thing because rain will be falling in Atlanta outside, but you take a look at Matt Ryan's stats. Maybe he's your guy this week for all the games in these particular weather conditions in the dome. You got to believe it's going to be nice, right? 268 yards normal passing. He's at 271 when he's got conditions with these dome conditions here. So as far as from playing inside the dome and outside the dome, you can see just a little bit of a change here, but not much at all. So really, he's going to be dealing with just your typical Matt Ryan stats, which of course will be great. 1.8 yards average touchdowns here, and then just less than 1 interception. All right, so there you have it, the details that you need for the stats for some of your quarterbacks. If I didn't mention your quarterback, though, you can go to overunderfantasyweather.com, plug in the weather conditions as I just showed you, and you can find out how well or how poorly your quarterback will play in these specific types of weather conditions. Some quarterbacks play poorly when it's warm out and better when it's cold. Of course, you can check that out at overunderfantasyweather.com, and let's hope that you get the edge in the weather for your final championship game.